So, what are you going to remember most at the end of your days? And I have so many great things to share in this, but I want to share with you a clip. I just got a chance to teach to a men's group, part of Dr. Robert Glover, who wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, one of his men's groups. And I want to share with you what I shared with these guys. So, without further ado, let me dive into it. And here's the recording from that Zoom call.
We are the sum of our stories. When I grew up as a pastor's kid in a mega church, we had regularly over to our house on Sunday afternoons guests. So we would have people coming over, either people part of the church, or we'd have people who were visiting speakers. And it was interesting to me because in the 70s, we still had everybody around from the World War II generation. And so you'd hear these conversations, these guys telling their war stories. And then they talk about the happy days, the days in the 50s, is like right out of the TV show, right? And how much they loved life and all the prosperity and abundance and the joy. And I remember listening to this going, wow, it sounds great. And they're sharing. And of course, people are bonding over shared experiences, just like you would be if you found somebody else who also went to an AC/DC concert. You'd be like, yeah, right, bro. But then it occurred to me that all the stories I was listening to were like 20 years old. And all of a sudden, as a 12-year-old, I started thinking to myself, have you done nothing in life in the last 20 years worth talking about? And so this thought hit me as a kid. I was like, I don't want when I'm talking, sharing my stories, I don't want them more than 6 months old, right? And but the truth is, once I got into adult life, it was like all of us, right? You got the pressures of trying to take care of the family, you got to pay the bills, now you got kids, you got a wife, you have all these demands at work, and you shrink into this servitude of responsibility. And in a way, we as men carry it as a badge of honor. Hey, we're responsible for these things. Look at what I'm doing. But the other side of it, though, is it can break us down, tire us out if we're not balancing it with something that feeds our soul. A couple of weeks ago, I did that talk on the 3 core needs of the masculine soul, and one of them is to have an adventure to live. So I want to talk to you today a little bit about the aspect of making stories a priority. I really learned this after I turned 40. I went through a depression, and I didn't believe in them because I was always an optimistic personality, but truly it was 8 months of something my soul needed to mourn, the death of a dream. I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. I hadn't experienced the things I wanted to. And after coming out of the depression, it was such relief. I felt like I was birthed again. I had this energy. It was just oh my gosh, thank you. It was just, literally, I've always described it as like being like toast in a toaster. All of a sudden you put the thing down, it pops back up. And I just wanted to live. I felt like I got a second chance. And this time I wanted to experience and do things for me. And so I ended up becoming yes man. It's just like somebody asked me something, and before I'm too busy, I don't have enough money, I would just say, all right, I'll figure it out. Yes, the answer is yes. So I ended up going on this crazy peacock fishing trip on the Amazon River with 20 other guys. I went to Costa Rica sail fishing and zip lining, and Rio de Janeiro. I went to got myself a little Mercedes SLK convertible and had the top down as much as I could while I was living in Sacramento. And I just really started wondering, after now drinking in life and feeling all these experiences, having these things to say about being there with Brazilian natives, watching the sun go down, and having a cigar with buddies around a pool with cute little Costa Rican or Brazilian girls next to us, and saying like, what did I do for the first 22 years of my life? What was so important? And I never forgot that, and I never stopped making it a priority. And I truly believe at the end of my days, the thing I'm going to look back at most is the crazy adventures I went on, the stories I can tell, and the people I shared them with. Literally last weekend, thank you guys for letting me have the day off, I went back and was invited to a party with a good friend of mine who was on that that Amazon fishing trip 18 years ago. We hadn't seen each other since then, but he goes, hey, I always have a party. Come on over. I want you to be part of it. And it was like no time had passed. And of course, we hadn't aged at all, right? And we just had an amazing time. And we shared those memories. And I can tell you, if we didn't get together for another 18 years, we would still talk about those experiences we had. So what I found is, at the end of the day, is when we're sharing and looking back at those things, you have to ask the question, did I make myself a priority to have adventure, to create stories. And so there's three aspects to this. I put this in my book, Legacy, and I want to just, if you guys want to take notes and jot this down, there's three elements to making sure you're creating experiences you're always going to look back to with gratitude. And the first one is you just got to make it a priority. Now, what I've learned, and what you probably know, this is just a universal truth, you're always going to do what you decide is most important. If you decide this is important, whatever it is, you are going to find a way to make that happen. And so the quick thing is just decide this is important. You don't want to get to the end of your days and not have stories. There's a bigger regret getting to the end going, what did I do? And if you want to avoid that, as you know, sometimes people go in pursuit of pleasure, others avoid pain. That's a big pain you want to avoid, getting to the end and going, what did I really do? So the first thing is just simply making experiences a priority, making them important to you. Decide that you need to have memorable experiences in your life. Look for them and then plan for them. And here's one thing I found. Once you have somebody invite you to something, and I'll give you some ideas here in the next bullet point of what to do. But it's like once you have thought about something, like coming up the Glover trip, even if you say, I don't know if I can afford it, I don't know if I have the time off. Once you decide, you know what, I'm going to do that. It's funny how the stars come into alignment and all of a sudden the money comes about, and guess what? It happens. It's just once you've made a decision, says, I'm going to do that. And then all of a sudden ways come out that you get the time off. All of a sudden money comes in you didn't expect. It's a decision. So the first point is you got to make experiences a priority. Number two is make experiences a little adventurous. What really killed me is I've been to 26 countries. When I told you guys I had the dating business with Dream Connections, I would have guys come in to exotic cities, Odessa, Ukraine, into Medellin, Colombia, to Bangkok, Thailand. And it seemed like there was one or two guys in every group who had traveled enough and they were just not impressed. It's like, yeah, whatever. I've been to other cities. Just, show me the girls. And I'm going like, what a horrible, horrible way to live. I don't care if it's your 20th time there. You're in a freaking exotic place. There's something to be taken in. And so part of it is always remain curious and absorb your atmosphere. Be fully alive wherever it is. What a shame to be able to go on an adventure and just emotionally yah-yah to yourself and then like, yeah, whatever. It's like, dude, if you stay heightened, if you're absorbing and taking it all in, you're going to have the time of your life. But it's up to you to be aware of that and appreciate it, be grateful, have a sense of gratitude, have a sense of curiosity where you go. Making them a little adventurous. It may include some travel or just doing something you've never done before. You could plan a big experience once a year is kind of what I suggest. And then smaller ones every month or two. Just go to a new restaurant, a concert, visit a friend in another city. Just do something that's a little out of the beaten path. And maybe it's stretching yourself to learn a new instrument, take a course, do something that just stretches you in some way. And then finally, the third point is, I wrap it up here, do it with others. Having experiences with people is 10 times more interesting and exciting and memorable than doing it alone. And I can tell you I've done both. I remember one time I managed I worked for a company, had the nine Western states from my territory, and I had a good expense account so I could eat out. I traveled. They flew me. I always stayed in the Hiltons, the Hyatts, all the best hotels. And one night I'm having a cigar and a glass of red wine, sitting on the pool side with these marble tiles around the pool in Huntington Beach, watching the sun go down over the Pacific Ocean with a wine glass here, a cigar here. And I literally turned to the left and I goes, isn't this amazing? And then I stopped. There was nobody there. That was a hollow, gut-wrenching feeling. It's like, holy shit, I got nobody to share this with. Bring people, figure out who you're going to invite and make the decision to include people in all your adventures. Whether it's going to, a conference like the Integration Nation conference in Mexico, whether it's bringing friends with you on a camping trip or a fishing trip where you have stories about how the bear ate all the food and it downpoured and all your stuff got washed out, you'll have stories to share. And sometimes it's the crazy mishaps that end up being the cool stuff. So go with it. Make the stories happen. Benjamin Franklin once said, either write something worth reading or do something worth writing about. However, it just doesn't happen by accident. Getting out of the ruts of the familiar is going to stretch us, but it'll also be the very things that we're most grateful for that we did. And just in reflection, we're going to go into these questions, thinking about what can I do to make experiences and adventures really a priority in my life? Who can I enlist to go on these adventures with me? And what opportunities are currently available to me that I could say yes to? And with that, I'm in.